There is someone in your life whose influence has been quietly pulling you away from the peace you've been searching for, and the most surprising part is that you've probably mistaken their presence for coincidence. You may have trusted them, admired them, or simply accepted them as part of your daily life. But lately, something has felt different. Conversations leave you unusually drained. Decisions become more confusing after speaking with them. Opportunities seem to lose their excitement the moment they enter the picture. What if those feelings aren't random? What if they are gentle warnings inviting you to pay closer attention? Sometimes, the greatest protection doesn't come through dramatic signs, it comes through quiet discernment, unexpected delays, or an inner sense that something isn't right. Before you dismiss this as imagination, think carefully about the moments when your heart urged caution even though everything looked perfectly normal on the surface. Those moments deserve your attention. Don't skip. What you're about to hear may completely change how you recognize the people who truly belong in your future. Many people expect warnings to arrive loudly, but they often come in the smallest details. Think about the times you were about to make an important decision and suddenly felt the need to pause. Remember the invitation that unexpectedly fell through, the conversation that was delayed, or the opportunity that disappeared at the last moment. At the time, those moments probably felt frustrating. But looking back, how many of those disappointments eventually protected you from something that wasn't meant for you? Sometimes we ask why a door closed, only to realize later that it was never leading where we truly needed to go. In the same way, there are relationships that seem helpful at first but slowly replace confidence with uncertainty. They don't always appear harmful. In fact, they may seem encouraging while quietly steering you away from your values, your purpose, or your peace of mind. That's why wisdom isn't about judging people by appearances. It's about noticing the lasting effect they have on your life. Do you feel stronger after being around them, or constantly uncertain? Do they inspire hope, or do they leave you doubting every step you take? These questions matter more than most people realize. And here's the surprising part. Sometimes the person you need to be cautious about isn't someone obviously unkind. It may simply be someone whose direction is pulling you away from the path you're meant to follow. The next piece of this message reveals a clue that many people overlook until it's almost too late. Stay till the end. Now comes the part that surprises almost everyone. The title speaks of the name, but the greatest revelation isn't about exposing one specific individual or accusing someone you've never met. It's about recognizing a pattern that can appear through different people at different times in life. That the name you're waiting for isn't as important as the qualities you should be watching for. Notice the person who consistently encourages fear instead of wisdom, who celebrates your distractions more than your growth, who quietly benefits whenever you lose confidence in yourself, or who always seems present when you're about to make meaningful progress. Those patterns deserve careful attention. True guidance leads toward clarity, peace, integrity, and hope. Constant confusion, pressure, and discouragement deserve thoughtful reflection. This isn't an invitation to become suspicious of everyone around you. It's an invitation to slow down, seek wisdom, and evaluate relationships with honesty rather than emotion alone. The most meaningful turning points often begin when we stop asking, "Who should I trust?" and instead ask, "What kind of influence is this relationship having on my life?" That single question has changed countless futures. And there is one more unexpected clue. One that explains why certain people suddenly leave your life just before your greatest season of growth begins. Once that connection becomes clear, the entire story takes on a completely different meaning. The moment you begin paying attention to those patterns, something remarkable starts to happen. You realize that every time you were about to move closer to your purpose, the same kind of influence seemed to appear. It wasn't always the same face, but it carried the same effect. A simple conversation would fill your mind with doubt. A dream that once felt exciting would suddenly seem impossible. Your confidence would slowly disappear, not because you had failed, but because someone else's fear quietly became louder than your own faith. That is how many people lose incredible opportunities without ever realizing what happened. The greatest danger is rarely obvious. It often arrives disguised as comfort, familiarity, or advice that sounds reasonable on the surface. But here's the question that changes everything. Why do you always feel lighter after stepping away from certain conversations? Why does peace return when that influence is no longer around? Those moments are worth noticing. They reveal more than words ever could. Something huge is waiting for you. Because the next truth explains why certain people unexpectedly disappear from your life just before your biggest breakthrough. Before we continue, if this message has encouraged you to reflect more deeply, take a moment to like this video, subscribe for more uplifting content, share it with someone who may need this reminder, and let me know in the comments. Have you ever looked back and realized that a closed door actually protected you? Now think about every delay that once disappointed you. There were plans that fell apart, invitations that never happened, conversations that suddenly ended, and opportunities that slipped away. At the time, you probably wondered why everything seemed to be working against you. But what if those moments weren't working against you at all? What if they were quietly redirecting you? Many of life's greatest blessings only make sense when viewed in reverse. The friendship that ended created space for healthier relationships. The opportunity you lost prepared you for one that fit your purpose even better. The person who walked away made room for people who genuinely celebrated your growth. Sometimes protection doesn't feel pleasant in the moment because it arrives wearing the disguise of disappointment. Yet later, what once felt like loss becomes the very reason you avoided years of regret. There may even be someone in your life today whose influence seems harmless, yet every important decision becomes more confusing after listening to them. That doesn't automatically make them a bad person. It simply means their direction may not be leading where you need to go. Wisdom grows when we stop following every voice around us and begin measuring every influence by its lasting fruit. Does it leave you with greater peace, clearer purpose, stronger character, and renewed hope? Or does it leave you exhausted, uncertain, and constantly questioning what you already knew was right? Those answers often reveal far more than appearances ever will. And the next revelation is perhaps the most unexpected of all, because it explains why your future may already be changing, even if you can't see it yet. Imagine waking up one ordinary morning and realizing that the season you've been waiting for has quietly begun. Not with dramatic signs, but with a new sense of clarity. The conversations that once confused you no longer carry the same weight. The voices that once influenced your decisions suddenly lose their power. The path ahead becomes clearer because you've learned to value wisdom over pressure and peace over confusion. That is how many life-changing journeys begin. Not with one extraordinary event, but with one courageous decision to pay attention to what truly brings lasting peace. Looking back, you'll realize that the greatest protection wasn't simply about being warned about one person, it was about learning how to recognize the difference between influences that strengthen your purpose and influences that slowly pull you away from it. Once you understand that lesson, you'll never see your past the same way again. Every unexpected delay, every closed door, every unanswered question begins to fit together like pieces of a puzzle that only make sense with time. And in the final part, everything comes together in a way few people expect, revealing why what felt like uncertainty may have been preparing you for one of the most meaningful seasons of your life.